card is declined. The one who knows exactly how much money our parents have in their retirement account because I'm the one who set it up. The human safety net for a family that treats stability like it's my superpower instead of my prison. Claire? Claire, are you there? Maeve's voice crackled through my phone speaker. I really need your help. The bank, they're being totally unreasonable. Stop. I press my fingers against my temples. Just how much this time? Only 800. I swear, I'll pay you back by next month. Like the 600 from January, or the 1,000 from Christmas. The words came out sharper than I intended. Silence on the line. Then in a smaller voice, you're mad at me. I'm not mad, I was exhausted, I'll transfer it. But Maeve, this has to stop, you're the best. I love you so much. Hey. Did Mom tell you I might be getting that job at the salon? I ended the call and opened my banking app. $800. That's 2 weeks of groceries, or 1/3 of what I needed to reach my down payment goal. The number I'd been inching toward for 3 years, watching it grow in my savings account like a fragile plant. Later that night I sat in my tiny apartment, laptop balanced on my knees. Reddit glowed on the screen as I typed. Sometimes I daydream about running away from my family. The words poured out, years of being the responsible one, of watching my sister burn through money and relationships, while our parents cleaned up her messes with my savings account. My phone buzzed. Mom, honey, we need to talk about Maeve, she said, her voice doing that thing where she tries to sound casual, but I can hear the tension underneath. What's she done now? Well, it's complicated. Your father and I think it would be better to discuss this in person. Can you come over tomorrow night? My stomach dropped. How bad? 42,000 in credit card debt, Mom's voice cracked. But we have a plan, we've been thinking about it, and since you're so good with money, the rest of her words faded into static. $42,000, almost exactly what I'd saved for my down payment. Claire, are you listening? Yeah. Mom, I'm here. My voice sounded far away even to myself. Good. Because we really need you to be there for your sister right now. You know how she struggles, and you've always been so responsible, so good at saving. I stared at my laptop screen, at the blinking cursor under my Reddit post. Someone had already commented, "You don't owe your family your entire life." Claire, Mom pressed. You'll help, won't you? It's better this way. She needs it more than you do right now. You're good at saving, you can always start over. The words hit me like a physical blow. Start over. 3 years of overtime shifts, of saying no to vacations, of living in this cramped apartment with a leaky faucet, all of it erased because Maeve needed another bailout. Of course, I heard myself say. I'll look at the numbers tomorrow. After hanging up, I opened my banking app again, stared at my savings balance, 43,000 oars, and $875.20 a day. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed for, and they expected me to hand it over like it meant nothing. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone and opened my sister's Instagram. There she was, posted 2 days ago, showing off a new designer bag. Last week, pictures from a weekend trip to Miami, all while racking up debt she expected me to pay off. I clicked back to Reddit, where more comments had appeared under my post. One caught my eye. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is let people face the consequences of their own actions. For the first time in years, I felt something shift inside me, a crack in the foundation of responsibility I'd built my life on. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I thought about consequences, about karma, about what would happen if, just once, I chose myself first. I opened a new tab and searched how to open a separate checking account. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest actions, and sometimes revenge looks exactly like freedom. I sat at my parents' kitchen table, the same one where I'd done my homework 20 years ago, watching Mum stir her coffee with mechanical precision. 3 turns clockwise, always 3. Some things never change. We've worked it all out, she said, sliding a folder across the table. Your father's prepared all the transfer forms. It's just a matter of moving the money. I opened the folder, scanning documents I'd seen 1,000 times in my accounting job. My hands were steady even as my stomach churned. Tell me again how this happened. Oh, honey, you know how these things snowball? Mum waved her hand dismissively. A few emergency expenses, some necessary purchases, like the Gucci bag she posted on Instagram last week. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Dad cleared his throat from his position by the sink. Claire, don't be petty, your sister is going through a difficult time. When isn't she? I muttered, but they ignored me. It's all family money anyway, Mom said, reaching across to pat my hand. That's what savings are for, helping. It's all family money anyway, Mom said, reaching across to pat my hand. That's what savings are for, helping family. Remember when you were 16 and crashed the car? We helped you then. The memory hit me like a slap. I paid back every cent with interest, and that was $2,000, not $42,000. The amount doesn't matter, Mom insisted. What matters is we're family. We help each other. I flipped through the transfer forms, remembering the night I'd paid off their second mortgage after Maeve's first major credit card disaster. I'd been 24, emptying my 401k while they all slept, believing I was protecting them. Now I wondered who had been protecting me. "Where is Maeve anyway?" I asked, knowing the answer. "She's very upset," Mom said quickly. "This is all so overwhelming for her. She's staying with a friend." Translation: she couldn't face me while taking my money. My phone buzzed. An email from Dad with the bank routing information. "Just send it through tomorrow at work," he said. "The sooner we handle this, the better." I stood up, tucking the folder into my bag. "I'll take care of it." Mom hugged me, her perfume overwhelming. "You're such a good daughter, Claire. We're so lucky to have you." I didn't hug back. Yeah, lucky. The drive home felt longer than usual. I pulled into my apartment complex, but instead of going upstairs, I knocked on my landlord's door. Prudence answered, still in her gardening clothes. "Claire, everything okay? I need to ask you something." I swallowed hard. "What's the earliest I could give 30 days notice?" Her eyes narrowed. "Planning to leave us? Maybe. I'm not sure yet. I just need to know my options." Prudence studied me for a long moment. "First of the month," she said finally. "But Claire, whatever you're planning, be sure, really sure." Back in my apartment, I opened my laptop and started making lists. Account numbers, passwords, joint investments, utility accounts, every financial thread that connected me to my family. My phone buzzed again, a text from Maeve. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're literally saving my life. Love you, sis." I stared at the heart emoji, remembering another night 5 years ago. I'd been in the emergency room with a kidney infection, delirious with fever. I'd called Maeve 3 times, begging her to come. She was too busy. I saw her party photos on Facebook the next day. Opening my banking app, I began the process of opening a new account. Different bank, different branch. No connection to any existing accounts. Then I started documenting everything. Screenshots of transfer histories, spreadsheets of loans paid, receipts for bills covered. A new email arrived from Dad. "Don't forget, transfer first thing tomorrow. Your mother's worried sick about this whole situation." I typed back, "Don't worry. Everything will be taken care of by 9 a.m. It wasn't exactly a lie. By 9 a.m. tomorrow, everything would indeed be taken care of, just not in the way they expected. I looked around my small apartment at the life I'd built while supporting everyone else's. The down payment I'd saved wasn't just money. It was freedom, my freedom. And maybe it was time to use it for exactly that. Opening my phone, I pulled up Prudence's contact. My fingers hovered over the keyboard before typing. "I'd like to give my 30 days notice starting 1st of next month." Her reply came quickly. "Thought you might. Forms are ready whenever you are." I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. Tomorrow would change everything, and for once, I was ready for change. The office was quiet at 7 a.m. as I methodically worked through my checklist. Cancel joint credit card with Maeve. Done. Remove myself as guarantor from parents' accounts. Done. Update mail forwarding. Done. Each click of my mouse felt like breaking a chain. "You're here early." I jumped. Gideon from the cubicle next to mine stood in the doorway holding 2 coffee cups. "Couldn't sleep," I said, minimizing my screens. "What's your excuse?" He set one of the coffees on my desk. "Quarter-end reports." "But you've been here early all week. Everything okay?" "Just busy." I took a sip of the coffee. Perfect amount of cream. He'd noticed how I took it. Right. He didn't sound convinced. "You know, if you need to talk, I don't." The words came out sharper than intended. "But thanks for the coffee." He nodded and retreated to his desk. I felt a twinge of guilt. Gideon had always been kind to me, but I couldn't risk anyone knowing what I was about to do. Opening my bottom drawer, I pulled out a flash drive. My insurance policy. Years of receipts, transfer records, loan documents. Every dollar I'd given them, every bill I'd paid, every financial rescue I'd mounted. I'd spent weeks scanning and organizing it all, so I know my phone buzzed. "Mom, just checking. You're handling the transfer this morning, right?" "Everything's in motion," I texted back. Not a lie. I pulled up the joint investment account I shared with my parents, the one they'd insisted I manage because I was so good with money. With a few clicks, I transferred my portion to my new separate account. Next came the utility accounts, all in my name, all paid from my account for years. Time to update the billing information. "You missed a spot." I nearly jumped out of my skin. Gideon again, pointing at my screen. "What?" "The beneficiary designation on your 401. If you're cutting financial ties, you'll want to change that too." My blood ran cold. "How did you? I've been watching you all week," he said quietly. "The new accounts, the transfers, the documentation. I'm not judging. Sometimes family is toxic." "I'm not." I started to deny it, then stopped. "How much have you seen?" "Enough to know you're being thorough." But you missed the 41 beneficiaries and your health insurance. Maeve still listed as your emergency contact. I stared at him. Why are you helping me? He shrugged. Because I've been where you are and because you look like you haven't slept in days. My eyes burned. He wasn't wrong. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded once and returned to his desk. I updated my beneficiaries and emergency contacts, then moved on to the final phase. My hand shook as I composed the email to my parents' creditors, removing myself as contact person and financial guarantor. No more midnight calls about missed payments. No more using my good credit as their safety net. Another text from Mom. Maeve's so excited to have this settled. We're thinking of celebrating tonight. I pictured them planning a dinner with my money. Money they didn't yet realize they wouldn't be getting. My stomach churned. Opening my email, I crafted one final message. Transfer will process by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Everything's taken care of. Mom's reply was instant. You're an angel. We knew we could count on you. Maeve sent a string of heart emojis. I leaned back in my chair, watching the clock tick toward 9 a.m. In my new apartment across town, my boxes were already packed. The lease was signed. My new phone number was activated. All my important documents were in a safety deposit box only I could access. Hey. Gideon's voice was soft. You okay? I realized I was crying. No. But I will be. Want to get lunch later, after everything? I looked at him. Really, Big looked at him for the first time. He had kind eyes. Yeah, I said. I'd like that. My phone buzzed one last time. Dad, your mother's worried the transfer hasn't shown up yet. I turned off my phone and slipped it into my drawer. By now they'd be checking their accounts, waiting for the money. The panic would start soon. The calls would flood in. The realization would hit them. I wasn't fixing this mess. Not this time. For the first time in years I felt something like peace. It's done, I whispered to myself. It's finally done. The office began to fill with other employees. Normal morning chatter, coffee runs, regular life continuing, while my world shifted on its axis. I opened my web browser and pulled up apartment listings. Time to start thinking about furniture for my new place. Time to start thinking about myself. The first voicemail came at 9:07 a.m. Claire, the money hasn't shown up yet. Call me back immediately. Mom's voice was tight, controlled. 912. This isn't funny. We need that transfer now. 9:15 a.m. Your sister is having a panic attack. How could you do this to her? I sat at my desk sipping tea, listening to the messages pile up through my blocked numbers, each one more desperate than the last. The office hummed with normal activity while my phone silently exploded. Gideon appeared with another coffee. How's it going? They're melting down. I showed him my email. 37 new messages in the last hour. Mom's threatening to call the police. For what? Not giving them your money? For stealing from them? She thinks I hacked their accounts. I couldn't help but laugh. I just removed myself from them. My computer pinged. A new email from Maeve. OMG, did someone hack you? My card just got declined and the bank says the account is closed. Call me. She thinks she's been scammed, I told Gideon. Hasn't figured out yet that I'm the scammer. How long are you going to let them spiral? Until they stop expecting me to fix everything. The elevator dinged. Through the glass walls of our office, I saw Maeve storm in, her designer bag swinging wildly. My stomach dropped. Where is she? She screamed at the receptionist. Where's my sister? Security was already moving. I stayed at my desk watching. Mom, you need to calm down, the guard said. Don't tell me to calm down, she stole from me. Claire, I know you're in here. I stood up slowly, walked to the office entrance. Everyone was staring. You need to leave, I said quietly. Leave. Leave. You destroyed everything. The accounts are empty. Mom's crying. What did you do? I didn't take anything that wasn't mine. My voice was steady. The accounts aren't empty. They just don't have access to my money anymore. Your money? She laughed hysterically. It's family money. That's what Mom always said. Not anymore. The security guard stepped between us. Mom, if you don't leave voluntarily, we'll call the police. Go ahead, Maeve shrieked. Call them. She's the criminal. The only crime, I said, is how long I let you all use me. Something in my voice made her stop, really look at me. You did this on purpose? Yes. But why? We're family. Family doesn't drain you dry. Family doesn't expect you to sacrifice everything. Family doesn't treat you like an ATM. Tears streamed down her face. I needed that money. No, you needed consequences. The security guard took her arm. Time to go. You'll regret this, she screamed as they let her out. Mom and Dad will never forgive you. I know, I said softly. That's the point. The office was dead silent. I turned to face my coworkers, their shocked expressions. Show's over, I announced. Back to work. I returned to my desk, hands shaking slightly. Gideon appeared with a water bottle. That was intense, he said. That was just the beginning. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Dad, using Mom's phone, your mother is having chest pains. If anything happens to her, it's on you. I blocked that number too. Another email from Maeve. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. I never want to see you again. I typed back 3 words. As you wish. Then I opened my bottom drawer, pulled out the flash drive, and plugged it in. Time to organize the evidence just in case they tried anything legal. The spreadsheet of financial transactions told the story. 157 vows. 800 interest per duty, $2.43 over 10 years. That's what family had cost me. Claire? My supervisor stood at my desk. Can we talk? I followed her to her office already knowing what was coming. We can't have scenes like that in the workplace, she began. It won't happen again, I assured her. I've blocked all contact. She studied me. Are you okay? No. I surprised myself with the honesty, but I will be. Back at my desk, I found a sticky note from Gideon. Lunch? You look like you could use a friend. I smiled slightly, stuck the note in my planner. Maybe I could. My email pinged one final time. Mom, you don't belong in this family anymore. For the first time, those words didn't hurt. They felt like freedom. I typed back, you're right, I don't. Then I turned back to my work, letting the silence of my phone wash over me like peace. The pounding on my apartment door started at 6 a.m. I sat on my couch, coffee in hand, listening to Mom's voice through the wood. Claire, Elizabeth, I know you're in there. Open this door right now. I took another sip of coffee. The walls in this building were thin. My neighbors would hear everything. Good thing I'd already given notice. Your father is sick with worry. Is that what you wanted? To make us all sick? My phone buzzed. A text from my neighbor across the hall. Want me to call the cops? Not yet, I typed back. But thanks. I raised you better than this. Mom's voice cracked. After everything we've done for you, I nearly choked on my coffee. Everything they'd done for me? The memories flooded back. Working 2 jobs through college while Maeve got a free ride. Emptying my savings to cover their second mortgage. Canceling my vacation to bail Maeve out of jail after her DUI. The pounding stopped, then softer. Please, honey, just talk to us. I stayed silent. Fine. Her voice turned cold. Have it your way. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. I waited 10 minutes before opening my door to retrieve the mail. At work, Gideon was already at my desk. You look terrible. Thanks. Mom showed up at my apartment this morning. Did you talk to her? No. But the whole building heard her talk to me. I slumped into my chair. HR wants to see me at 10. Because of Maeve's scene yesterday? I nodded. Apparently she's been calling the office multiple times. Want me to come with you, to HR? Why would you? Because you look like you're about to break, and someone should have your back. The sincerity in his voice made my throat tight. I'm fine. No. You're not, and that's okay. Before I could respond, my email pinged. A message from an unfamiliar address made my blood run cold. Hey Claire Bear, long time no see. Heard you're having family troubles. Maybe we should talk about some of Maeve's creative accounting. Hank, Maeve's ex. The one who'd introduced her to credit card fraud. What's wrong? Gideon asked. You've gone pale. I showed him the email. Maeve's ex. He's not a good person. Sounds like a threat. It is. I rubbed my temples. Maeve must have told him about the money. Miss Roberts, HR's assistant, appeared. They're ready for you. The meeting was exactly as uncomfortable as I'd expected. Yes, my sister had been causing disruptions. No, I couldn't control her actions. Yes, I understood this was a professional environment. We're concerned, the HR director said, about the impact on workplace harmony. I understand, I replied. I've blocked all contact. It won't happen again. See that it doesn't. Back at my desk, 3 more emails from Hank waited, each more suggestive than the last. I know things about your sister's finances that could cause real problems. Wonder what the police would think about certain transactions. Let's meet, talk about family loyalty. You should report him, Gideon said, reading over my shoulder. And say what? That my sister's sketchy ex is threatening me because I won't give her money. Yes, exactly that. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Coffee shop on 5th, 3 p.m. Come alone. Don't go, Gideon said immediately. I have to. If he knows something about Maeve's accounts that could blow back on me, then let me come with you, he said alone. Since when do you follow orders from criminals? I almost smiled, almost. At 2:55 p.m. I walked into the coffee shop. Hank sat in the corner looking exactly as sleazy as I remembered. Gideon positioned himself at a table near the door, pretending to work on his laptop. Claire Bear. Hank smiled. Sit down, let's chat about family, let's chat about blackmail instead. His smile didn't waver. Strong word, I prefer negotiation. Nothing to negotiate. Whatever Maeve did with her accounts, it's not my problem anymore. No. He leaned forward. What if I told you she used your social security number for some of those accounts? My stomach dropped. You're lying. Wanna bet your credit score on that? He slid a paper across the table. Let's talk numbers. I looked at the figure he'd written, looked at his smirking face and made a decision. No, I said, standing up. Let's talk consequences instead. His smile finally faltered. What? Check your email in an hour and, Hank, never contact me again. I walked out, Gideon falling into step beside me. What now? He asked. Now, I said, pulling out my phone to keep I call my lawyer. The diner's fluorescent lights made everyone look sickly. Maeve sat across from me, Hank hovering behind her like a shadow. My lawyer's business card burned in my pocket, a silent reminder that I held the power now. You're really going to do this? Maeve asked, her mascara already smudging. You're going to let them arrest me? I'm not letting them do anything, I said, stirring my coffee. Your choices, your consequences, but I'm your sister and I'm done being your human shield. I pulled out a folder. Want to explain these credit card applications? The ones with my social security number. Hank shifted uncomfortably. Maeve's face went white. That's not what it looks like. Identity theft is exactly what it looks like. I laid out the documents my lawyer had pulled. 5 cards, $42,000, my social security number. I was desperate. Tears started falling. You wouldn't help me. I helped you for 10 years. I worked overtime, canceled vacations, lived in a cramped apartment so you could have whatever you wanted. You're just jealous, she spat. You've always been jealous that Mom and Dad love me more. The words should have hurt. Instead, I laughed. Love you more? They enabled you more. There's a difference. Hank finally spoke up. Look, we can work something out. Maybe a payment plan. There's already a plan. I cut him off. The police are very interested in both of you, especially your history of targeting vulnerable women for financial scams, Hank. His face darkened. You don't want to threaten me? No. I pulled out my phone, showed them the screen. I've been recording this entire conversation, and I have copies of everything, the fraudulent applications, the transfer histories, even those texts where you tried to blackmail me. Maeve grabbed Hank's arm. You said she wouldn't have proof. Shut up, he hissed. Here's what's going to happen, I said, closing the folder. You're both going to leave. Never contact me again. Never come to my workplace. Never touch my finances. Or what? Hank challenged. Or I press charges, identity theft, fraud, blackmail. Take your pick. My lawyer has the paperwork ready. You'd send your own sister to jail? Maeve whispered. You were willing to destroy my credit score. Seems fair. She started sobbing. The waitress glanced over concerned. Everything's fine, I called out. Then lower, isn't it, Maeve? I hate you, she choked out. No. You hate that I stopped playing by your rules. I stood up, dropping cash for my coffee. Goodbye, Maeve. Good luck with the police investigation. Hank grabbed my arm. You think you're so clever. Remove your hand, I said quietly, or I'll scream. There are witnesses, cameras, and a police station 2 blocks away. Your choice. He let go like I'd burned him. One more thing, I added, reaching the door. I'm not the only one you tried to scam. Remember Sarah from the bank? Jessica from the loan office? They're very interested in testifying. The color drained from his face. You ruined everything, Maeve sobbed. No. I looked at her one last time. I just stopped letting you ruin me. Outside, the evening air felt clean, fresh. My phone buzzed. A text from Gideon. All okay, better than okay, I replied. Another message popped up, this one from Mom. Maeve just called us hysterical. What have you done? I typed back. Ask her about the credit card fraud. Ask her about Hank's scams, or better yet, ask yourselves why you never did. Then I blocked their number too. Walking home, I passed a real estate office. In the window, a photo of a small townhouse caught my eye. Nothing fancy, just a modest home with a small garden, but it would be mine. No family drama, no financial abuse, no midnight crisis calls. My phone rang. My lawyer. They took the bait, she said. Hank's lawyer reached out. They want to deal. And Maeve, the evidence is clear. She can cooperate or face charges. I watched my reflection in the real estate window. The woman staring back looked tired but strong. Give them 24 hours to decide, I said. Then we move forward. You're sure about this? They're your family. No, I said, turning away from the window. They're people who used to control me. There's a difference. I hung up and started walking again, faster now. Each step felt lighter, each breath clearer. Behind me, the sun was setting on my old life. Ahead, the street stretched out like possibilities. For the first time in forever, I was free to choose which way to go. The legal notice arrived on a Tuesday morning. I stared at the certified letter, my hand shaking as I read the words. Notice of civil action. My parents had listed me as a CO debtor on a new loan, one I'd never signed for. They'd forged my signature using our shared history of joint accounts as proof of my involvement. They can't do this, Gideon said, reading over my shoulder in the break room. It's fraud. They think they can bully me back into line. My voice cracked. They're trying to force me to help with Maeve's debt. Call your lawyer now. I did. She answered on the first ring. They're desperate, she said after I explained. This is good news. Good news, they're trying to steal my identity. No, they're providing evidence of a pattern of financial abuse. This helps our case. My desk phone lit up. The receptionist's voice was apologetic. Your father's here. Don't, Gideon said, but I was already standing. Dad looked older, standing in the lobby, defeated. Claire, please, your mother's not sleeping. Maeve's talking about moving across the country. We just want our family back. The family where I pay for everything and get nothing in return? That's not fair, no. What's not fair is forging my signature on loan documents. I held up the notice. Did you really think I wouldn't fight back? We're scared, he admitted. The bank's threatening foreclosure. Maeve's cards are all frozen. Your mother's blood pressure stop. My voice was steel. I'm not responsible for fixing your lives anymore. But we're your parents. Parents protect their children. They don't exploit them. His face hardened. Your mother was right. You've changed. Yes, I have. Back at my desk, I emailed my lawyer the security footage of Dad's visit. More evidence. My phone buzzed. A TikTok notification. Maeve had posted a video. My stomach dropped as I watched. My sister abandoned our family, her tearful face declared. Left us drowning in debt. Don't trust someone just because they're blood. Shuck toxic family. Dust betrayal. The comments were flooding in. Stay strong. Family should help family. What a horrible sister. Gideon appeared with coffee. Social media doesn't matter. The law does. They're making me the villain. No. They're showing everyone exactly why you left. My lawyer called again. We've got them. The loan application, the forged signature, Maeve's social media posts admitting to debt. It's all evidence. Want to press charges? I thought about Mom's sleepless nights, Dad's defeated posture, Maeve's tears. Yes, I whispered. Send the cease and desist. File the police report. It'll get ugly. It already is. That night, alone in my apartment, the email started. Mom, the police came. Is this what you wanted? To destroy us? Dad, your mother's in the hospital. Stress attack? Are you happy now? Maeve, they're saying I could go to jail. I hope you rot. I forwarded each one to my lawyer without reading further. Then I opened Reddit, found my original post from weeks ago. Sometimes I daydream about running away from my family. The comments had multiplied. Update us, stay strong, you're inspiring others to break free. I started typing, update. I didn't run away, I stood my ground. Gideon texted, you okay? No, I replied honestly. But I will be. Want company? I make decent pasta. I stared at the message. In the midst of all this darkness, someone was offering light. Yes, I typed back. I'd like that. My phone lit up one final time. A message from Mom. No matter how far you run, blood is blood. That doesn't change. You'll regret this eventually. When you're alone and need family, remember who you abandoned. I thought about Gideon bringing me coffee, about my lawyer's fierce protection, about Prudence checking on me daily, about the Reddit strangers cheering me on. You're right, I wrote back. Blood is blood. But family? Family is who lifts you up, not who drags you down. I'm not alone. I'm free. Then I blocked her number, the last one, and started making dinner. Tonight, I'd have pasta with a friend. Tomorrow, I'd face whatever came next. The police report was filed. The cease and desist was sent. The evidence was documented. For the first time in my life, I wasn't fixing their mess, I was fixing mine. The keys to my new townhouse felt heavy in my hand. Prudence stood beside me on the front step holding a potted plant, a housewarming gift. Ready? She asked. I turned the key. The door swung open to empty rooms full of possibility. My possibilities. It's smaller than your parents' place, Prudence noted, but it's mine. I set down the box I was carrying, every inch of it. My phone buzzed, a news alert. I'd set up notifications for certain names. There it was. Local businessmen arrested for financial fraud. Hank's mugshot stared back at me. Good, Prudence said, reading over my shoulder. One down. Maeve took a plea deal, I told her. Community service, financial counseling, and she has to pay everything back. And your parents? The cease and desist worked. They're leaving me alone. Moving boxes lined the hallway, each one labeled in Gideon's neat handwriting. He'd insisted on helping organize the move, turning chaos into order, just like he'd helped turn my life from chaos to order. Where do you want this? He called from the doorway, carrying my small kitchen table. By the window, I said, where the light is. My phone buzzed again, a text from my lawyer. Final paperwork filed. You're officially clear of all their accounts. Congratulations. Prudence squeezed my arm. How does it feel? Scary, I admitted. Good. Scary. We unpacked in comfortable silence, each item finding its place, each room slowly becoming home. No more leaky faucets, no more thin walls, no more waiting for the next crisis. Look what I found, Gideon said, holding up an old photo album. You can throw that away. You sure? It's your history. I took the album, flipped through photos of forced family smiles and fake harmony. My history is what I make from now on. The doorbell rang. My heart stopped. Pizza. Gideon said quickly. I ordered pizza. We sat on moving boxes eating pizza from paper plates. Prudence told stories about terrible tenants. Gideon shared office gossip, normal conversation, normal life. My laptop dinged. A new email from Mom. Don't open it, Prudence warned. I need to. The subject line read receipt. Dear Claire, your father and I received the final notice from the lawyer today. You've made your point. You've won. I hope you're satisfied with destroying this family. But since you're so focused on debts and payments, here's a receipt for every dinner I cooked, every ride to school, every birthday present. That's what family meant to us, keeping score. Isn't that what you wanted? When you're ready to apologize, you know where to find us. Mom, I started laughing, couldn't stop. Claire? Gideon looked worried. I opened my spreadsheet, the one documenting every dollar I'd given them, added up the total one last time. €157 rand 800 and 192. High photo 43. Want to see my reply? I asked. They nodded. I typed, Dear Mom, here's my receipt. Second mortgage payment, $47,000. Maeve's bail and legal fees, $15,000. Credit card bailouts, $42,000. Utility bills, $23,892. Emergency loans, $30,000 total. $157,882. So but you forgot some things in your receipt. Cost of my self-respect, priceless. Price of my freedom, everything I had. Value of finally standing up, worth every penny. I'm not keeping score anymore, I'm just keeping my peace. Goodbye. Claire send. Brutal, Prudence whispered. Honest, Gideon corrected. I closed my laptop and looked around my new home. My furniture might be second-hand, my decorations sparse, but every inch belonged to me. I need plates, I said suddenly. And curtains, and tomorrow, Gideon said. Tonight we celebrate. He pulled out a bottle of champagne. Prudence found paper cups in a box. 2 new beginnings, she toasted. To freedom, Gideon added. To peace, I whispered. The sunset painted my empty walls gold. Through the window I could see my small garden where I'd plant flowers in spring. My flowers, my garden, my life. My phone stayed silent. No crisis calls, no guilt trips, no demands, just peace. More pizza? Gideon offered. I smiled. A real smile, not the practiced one from family photos. Yes. And tomorrow, maybe dinner? Just us? His answering smile was warm. Just us. Prudence gathered her purse heading home. At the door she hugged me tight. You did it, kid. You really did it. I watched her leave, then turned back to my new life. Empty rooms waiting to be filled. Quiet spaces waiting for new memories. Clean pages waiting for better stories. And for once, the silence felt like a beginning, not an end.
Mom chose my stepsister over me and demanded to share my college fund that my deceased grandma left me. If I refused, she threatened to kick me out on my 18th birthday. Have you made your decision? I came into this world during what you might call the worst possible timing. My parents' marriage was already hanging by a thread, and my arrival didn't exactly help matters. I'm Nicole, and my father Tom wasn't exactly thrilled when Mom told him she was pregnant. You planned this, didn't you, Sarah? He shouted during one of their fights. Got pregnant on purpose just to trap me here. I've heard this story so many times from Mom that I can almost see it playing out, even though I wasn't old enough to remember it myself. Mom always said Dad was too carefree, too irresponsible to be a real family man. He'd rather spend his paycheck on whatever caught his fancy than save for our future. Their arguments echoed through our small house for 4 long years after I was born. Sometimes they were about money, sometimes about Dad's late nights out, sometimes about me. It seemed like everything was a trigger for another explosive fight. When I turned 5, they finally made it official and got divorced. Dad didn't stick around to see how that worked out. He just vanished. No goodbye, no forwarding address, not a single child support payment. It was like he'd never existed, except for the hole he left in our lives and Mom's growing bitterness. Your father is nothing but a selfish coward, Mom would tell me whenever I asked about him. A real man doesn't abandon his child. She'd get this hard look in her eyes every time his name came up, and eventually I learned to stop asking. The only connection I had left to Dad's side of the family was my grandmother, Eleanor. She and Mom couldn't stand each other. Grandma Eleanor blamed Mom for the failed marriage, saying she'd pushed Dad away with her constant nagging about money and responsibility. Mom, in turn, couldn't even bear to be in the same room as Grandma. When it was time for my visits with Grandma Eleanor, Mom would drive me to her house, practically drop me at the doorstep, and leave without even stepping inside. But once inside, everything changed. Grandma Eleanor would wrap me in warm hugs and tell me stories about Dad when he was young. She'd run her fingers through my hair and smile softly. You look just like your father, sweetheart, she'd say. You have his eyes, his smile, even that little dimple when you laugh. 3 years passed in a blur of weekend visits to Grandma Eleanor's house, filled with cookies, stories, and the warmth I couldn't find at home. By the time I turned 8, I had settled into a routine of sorts: weekdays with Mom, who was still bitter about Dad, and those precious weekends with Grandma, who never stopped hoping he'd return. But everything changed one rainy Tuesday in October. Mom got a call that made her face turn pale. "Get your coat, Nicole," she said, her voice unusually quiet. "Grandma Eleanor wants to see us both. It's important." The drive to Grandma's house was different this time. Usually Mom would just drop me off and speed away, but today she parked the car and actually walked with me to the door. Something was wrong. I could feel it in the heavy silence between us. Grandma Eleanor looked smaller somehow, lying in her bed with papers scattered around her. Her usually perfectly styled silver hair was messy, and her face had a grayish tinge that scared me. But she smiled when she saw us, reaching out her thin hands. "Sarah, Nicole, thank you for coming," she said, her voice weaker than I'd ever heard it. "Please, sit down, both of you." Mom actually sat down without argument, which was when I knew this was really serious. Grandma Eleanor's lawyer, Mr. Peterson, was there too, standing quietly in the corner like a somber statue. "I need to discuss something important," Grandma said, looking first at me, then at Mom. "I'm not well, and I need to make sure everything is properly arranged." She paused to catch her breath. "My house and part of my savings will go to your Aunt Linda, Nicole. But I've set up something special for you." I remember playing with the hem of my sweater, not really understanding what was happening. Adult conversations about arrangements and papers always bored me, but I knew I was supposed to pay attention. "I'm creating an educational fund for Nicole," Grandma continued, her voice growing stronger as she spoke about her plans. "It will cover her college expenses when she turns 18. Mr. Peterson here will manage it until then." Mom's posture changed at these words. She sat up straighter, her eyes widening slightly. I noticed her hands, usually fidgety with anxiety, grow still in her lap. "The money can only be accessed for educational purposes, and Nicole will have full control of it when she turns 18, Mr. Peterson added, stepping forward with some papers. "Mrs. Eleanor has been very specific about these terms." I sat there swinging my legs back and forth, more interested in the pattern of the wallpaper than in what they were discussing. College seemed like something from another lifetime. I was more concerned about my upcoming spelling test and whether Jenny Martinez would invite me to her birthday party. "Everything is arranged, Sarah," Grandma said, reaching for Mom's hand. For once, Mom didn't pull away. "I want to make sure my granddaughter has opportunities, regardless of everything else." The unspoken mention of Dad hung in the air between them. After signing some papers and saying our goodbyes, Mom and I drove home in silence. But this silence felt different from our usual tense quiet. It was almost peaceful. As we pulled into our driveway, Mom turned to me with an expression I'd never seen before. "Well," she said, a hint of a smile playing at her lips, "it seems at least one person in your father's family turned out to be decent after all." I didn't fully grasp the significance of that day until much later. At 8 years old, all I knew was that Grandma Eleanor had done something nice for me, and for once, Mom wasn't angry about it. The concept of college money meant nothing to me then. I was more excited about the butterscotch candy Grandma had slipped into my pocket when we left. Grandma Eleanor passed away just a few weeks after our last visit. The funeral was small and quiet, and I noticed Mom actually shed a few tears, though she tried to hide them. With Grandma gone, it felt like the last bridge to my father's world had crumbled away. Life moved on as it always does. Over the next 2 years, Mom started dating a guy named Robert. He seemed nice enough. He had a good job at a bank, drove a nice car, and always brought me small gifts when he came to visit. Mom smiled more when he was around, and I hadn't seen her smile like that in years. Then they decided to get married. I was 10 at the time, and the prospect of having a complete family again made my heart flutter with excitement. But the real news came when Mom told me Robert had a daughter my age named Ashley, who would be moving in with us. I remember jumping up and down, my mind filled with visions of sharing secrets, having sleepovers in the same room, and finally having someone to play with who wasn't just a school friend. After years of being an only child in a broken home, the idea of having a sister seemed like a dream come true. The day they moved in, I had decorated our shared room with welcome signs, and laid out some of my favorite books and toys to share. Ashley walked in, took one look around, and asked her dad if she could have her own room instead. "I don't want to share with her," she said, not even bothering to lower her voice. "She's not really my sister." That was just the beginning. Ashley quickly staked her claim on Mom's attention. She'd curl up next to her on the couch during movie nights, pushing me to the side. She started calling Mom Mommy within the one stone week, and Mom's face would light up every time she did. "Mom, want to see my art project?" I'd ask, holding up my drawing. "In a minute, honey," Mom would reply, but that minute never came because Ashley would already be showing Mom her homework or telling her about her day. When I finally broke down and told Mom how I felt, her response cut deep. "Don't be selfish, Nicole," she said, barely looking up from helping Ashley with her homework. "Ashley lost her mother when she was very young. She needs extra attention and a woman's love. You should understand that." "But what about my love?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I just nodded and retreated to my newly silent room, where Ashley's empty bed served as a constant reminder that I wasn't enough, not for my father, and now it seemed, not for my mother either. The changes in our family happened so gradually that at first I barely noticed them, but looking back now I can see how each small moment added up to create an ever-widening gap between me and my mother. It started with shopping trips. Mom would come home with bags full of designer clothes for Ashley, fancy jeans, brand-name sneakers, cute tops from expensive stores. Meanwhile, I got my clothes from department store sales and discount outlets. "Ashley needs to maintain a certain appearance at her new school," Mom would say when I pointed out the difference. Besides, you're not as interested in fashion as she is. Then came the biggest bombshell. They were sending Ashley to Riverside Prep, the expensive private school across town. I still remember the day they announced it over dinner. Ashley's test scores are exceptional, Robert said proudly. She needs a more challenging academic environment. What about me? I asked, pushing my peas around my plate. Could I go to Riverside too? Mom and Robert exchanged that look I'd come to hate, the one that meant they'd already discussed this without me. Honey, you're doing fine at Lincoln Public, Mom said. Ashley has different needs. She's really gifted, you know. The regular program suits you better. That night I cried into my pillow until I had no tears left. But something changed in me after that. As the years passed, I stopped trying to compete for Mom's attention. I stopped showing her my report cards, stopped telling her about my achievements, stopped hoping she'd notice me. By 15, I'd accepted my place in the family hierarchy. I threw myself into my studies at Lincoln Public, not for them but for myself. I joined the debate team, competed in science fairs, and maintained straight A's. My teachers would write glowing comments on my papers. Exceptional analysis, Nicole, outstanding work, you have a bright future ahead. Meanwhile at home, dinner conversations revolved around Ashley's latest achievements at Riverside Prep. Her participation in the Model UN conference, her selection for the advanced placement program, her tennis tournaments against other private schools. Ashley's English teacher says she has real potential as a writer, Mom would gush. She gets straight A's without even trying, Robert would add proudly. I'd sit there quietly eating my dinner, thinking about my own straight A's, about how I just won first place in the regional science fair, about how my debate team coach wanted me to lead the team next year. But I kept these thoughts to myself. What was the point of sharing them? My achievements at a public school couldn't possibly compare to Ashley's private school accomplishments, at least not in their eyes. Still, there were moments like when Mom and Robert would attend every single one of Ashley's tennis matches but couldn't make it to my debate team finals that the old hurt would surface. But I'd learned to push it down, to focus on what I could control. I had my education, my goals, and thanks to Grandma Eleanor's foresight, I had a future that was mine alone. Senior year flew by in a whirlwind of college applications and scholarship essays. As graduation approached, I found myself sitting at my desk late into the night, surrounded by brochures from different universities. My grades had opened up a lot of possibilities. I was particularly excited about State University's full scholarship program and had already been pre-approved based on my academic record. You don't have to take the scholarship route, you know, my guidance counselor Mrs. Martinez had told me. With your grandmother's college fund you could attend any school you want. But I had bigger plans for that money. I want to be smart about it, I explained to her. If I can get a full scholarship, I can save the fund for a down payment on a house after graduation. Mrs. Martinez had smiled at that. Always thinking ahead, aren't you, Nicole? 2 weeks before my 18th birthday, Mom called me down for what she termed a family meeting. I found them all sitting in the living room, Mom perched nervously on the edge of her favorite armchair, Robert looking serious on the couch, and Ashley beside him, not quite meeting my eyes. Sit down, Nicole, Mom said, patting the ottoman across from her. We need to discuss something important. I sat, noting how formal everything felt. Usually family discussions happened over dinner or in passing, never with this kind of setup. As you know, Mom began, Ashley is graduating this year too. She paused, glancing at my stepsister. We've been looking at colleges. I got accepted to Princeton, Ashley interrupted, finally looking at me. It's my dream school. That's congratulations, I said, not sure why this required a family meeting. The thing is, Robert jumped in, even with Ashley's excellent education at Riverside Prep, her grades don't quite qualify her for a full scholarship. Mom leaned forward. We've spent so much on her private school education, and it's been worth every penny, but we just don't have the resources for Princeton's tuition. I sat there, still not understanding why they were telling me this. Then Mom dropped the bomb. We were hoping since you have your grandmother's college fund you might be willing to share it with Ashley. The room went silent. I stared at Mom, waiting for her to say she was joking, but her face remained serious, expectant even. Share my college fund? I repeated slowly. The one Grandma Eleanor set up specifically for my education? You're getting a full scholarship anyway, Ashley said, as if this justified everything. You don't even need the money. We're family, Mom added softly. Family helps each other. I sat there feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. The college fund, my safety net, my future, my grandmother's last gift to me, they wanted me to hand it over to Ashley. The same Ashley who'd spent years making sure I knew I wasn't really family. The same Ashley who got everything while I got the leftovers. No. The word came out of my mouth before I could even process the full weight of what they were asking. Absolutely not. What do you mean no? Mom's voice took on that sharp edge I'd grown to know so well. I mean, no. This money was left to me by my grandmother. It's mine, and I'm going to use it for my future. Robert's face turned red. Do you hear how selfish she sounds, Sarah? This is exactly what I've been talking about for years. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Selfish? That's rich coming from you guys. Watch your tone, young lady, Robert snapped. You've always been jealous of Ashley. Always trying to compete with her, and now you're taking your revenge by denying her a chance at a good education. The absurdity of his statement made me laugh again, though there was no humor in it. Jealous? Of what exactly? Of how you've given her everything while treating me like an afterthought? And by the way, if she's as brilliant as you've always claimed, why didn't she earn a scholarship like I did? Ashley's face crumpled, and tears started streaming down her cheeks. She jumped up from the couch and ran upstairs, her dramatic exit punctuated by the slamming of her bedroom door. How dare you? Mom's voice was quiet, dangerous. How dare you be so cruel? Cruel? I'm being cruel? I stood up, my hands shaking. You're the ones trying to take away my college fund. Mom stood too, her face hard. Well then, let me make this very clear. You have 2 weeks until your birthday to change your mind. If you don't agree to share that money with your sister, you can find somewhere else to live. The floor seemed to tilt under my feet. What? You're kicking me out? This is my house too. No, Nicole, it's not. Mom's voice was cold. This house is in my name. You'll be 18, an adult. I'm not legally obligated to support you anymore. I can't believe this, I whispered. I can't believe you're choosing her over me. Again, you're choosing money over family, Robert shot back. Family? I practically spat the word. When have you ever treated me like family? They had no answer for that. Instead, Mom just said, 2 weeks, Nicole. Think carefully about your choice. The next 3 days were like living in a ghost town where I was the only ghost. No one spoke to me at breakfast. My questions at dinner were met with silence. Ashley acted like I was invisible, and Mom and Robert treated me like an unwelcome house guest who had overstayed their welcome. I ate my meals in my room, spent my free time at the library, and tried to make myself as scarce as possible. But every night, lying in my bed, I could hear them in the living room talking, laughing, watching TV together. A happy family of 3 with no room for a fourth. 4 days after that disastrous family meeting, I called Mr. Peterson, my grandmother's lawyer. My hands were shaking as I dialed his number, but his warm, familiar voice helped calm my nerves. Nicole, I was just thinking about you. Your 18th birthday is coming up soon. Yes, Mr. Peterson, that's actually why I'm calling. I took a deep breath and told him everything. The demand for money, the ultimatum, all of it. He listened quietly until I finished, then cleared his throat. Those funds are legally yours to control the moment you turn, Nicole. Your grandmother was very specific about that. And frankly, I think she suspected something like this might happen someday. What do you mean? Let's just say she knew her son's ex-wife very well. He paused. Now, about your living situation. Look, here's what I suggest. Pick your college first, preferably one in a different city. Then find an apartment nearby. I can help you with the paperwork. You won't be able to access the funds until your birthday, but we can get everything set up in advance. I spent that afternoon researching apartments near State University, where I'd already been accepted with a full scholarship. By evening, I'd found a small but decent place just a 10-minute walk from campus. The landlord, Mrs. Chen, was willing to hold it for me with just a promise of payment on my birthday. For the next week, I quietly packed my life into boxes, one small piece at a time. I didn't want anyone to notice what I was doing. Each night, after everyone was asleep, I pack another box and hide it in my closet. Photos, books, clothes, my life condensed into cardboard containers. On the morning of my 18th birthday, Mom cornered me in the kitchen. Well, she asked, arms crossed. Have you made your decision? I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt strangely calm. Yes, I have. The answer is still no. Then you know what that means. Her voice was hard. I want you out of this house today. Okay, I said simply. I think my calm acceptance threw her off. She probably expected tears or begging. Instead, I went upstairs, got my pre-packed boxes, and called the taxi I'd scheduled the day before. 20 minutes later, I was turning the key in the lock of my new apartment. The first thing I did was call Mr. Peterson, who had all the paperwork ready. By noon, I had access to my grandmother's fund. By 1 o'clock, I paid my first month's rent and security deposit to Mrs. Chen. That afternoon, I walked to the local coffee shop where I'd applied for a job the week before. The manager, Mike, had already agreed to hire me for the summer before college started. My apartment was small, just a studio with a kitchenette, but it was mine. That night, as I sat on my newly purchased air mattress, eating takeout and watching the sunset through my single window, I felt something unexpected. Freedom. 2 weeks into my new life, I was scrolling through Facebook during my coffee shop break when my phone started buzzing with notifications. Friends from high school were messaging me. Have you seen your mom's post? Are you okay? What's going on? With shaking hands, I pulled up Mom's page, and there it was. A long, dramatic post about ungrateful children and family loyalty. My daughter has broken our hearts, she wrote. After everything we've done for her, she selfishly refused to help her sister get a college education. Instead, she's hoarding money from her grandmother while her sister's dreams are put on hold. I never thought I'd raise such a selfish, heartless child. The comments below were worse. Relatives I barely knew were chiming in. How could she be so ungrateful? Family should come first. What a spoiled brat. I sat there in the break room, my coffee getting cold, as anger and hurt battled inside me. Then something snapped. If Mom wanted to air our dirty laundry on social media, fine. Let's tell the whole story. I opened my laptop and started typing. Since my mother has chosen to make our private family matters public, let me share my side of the story. Yes, I refused to give my stepsister my college fund, money that my grandmother specifically left for my education. What my mother forgot to mention is that she gave me an ultimatum: either give up my inheritance or get kicked out of the house. On my 18th birthday, she followed through on that threat. I was forced to move out because I wouldn't give away money that legally belonged to me. For years, I watched as my stepsister got private school education while I went to public school. I watched as she got expensive clothes while I got department store leftovers. I worked hard, got straight A's and earned a full scholarship to college, something I'm proud of. But apparently that wasn't enough. They wanted my inheritance too. So yes, I chose to keep my grandmother's gift to me. And yes, I'm now living on my own, working and preparing for college. But I didn't choose this situation. My mother did when she kicked her own daughter out on her birthday. I hit post and went back to work. By the time my shift ended, the response was overwhelming. Former teachers, neighbors, even some of Mom's old friends were commenting with messages of support. People who'd known our family for years started sharing stories of how they'd noticed the favoritism but never said anything. My phone rang that evening. Mom's name flashed on the screen. "How dare you?" she hissed when I answered. "Do you know how humiliating this is? Mrs. Peterson from church won't even look at me anymore. Half my friends are questioning my parenting." "Maybe they should," I said calmly. "You kicked your daughter out for not giving away her inheritance. What kind of parent does that?" "I did everything for you." "No, Mom, you did everything for Ashley. And that's fine, she's your daughter now, but I'm done. Goodbye, Mom." I hung up and blocked her number. Then I blocked her on all social media along with Robert and Ashley. It was surprisingly easy, like cutting away dead weight I'd been carrying for years. Now I'm in my one-stone semester at State University studying business management. My small apartment feels more like home every day. Sometimes I think about them, Mom, Robert and Ashley, but those thoughts come less and less often. Grandma Eleanor's picture sits on my desk and sometimes I swear she's smiling at me with pride. She knew somehow that I'd need this money not just for education but for freedom. She gave me the means to choose my own path, and I'll never forget that.